We're Jaimie and Jay, and this is Nightcrawler from Spirit Halloween.
We're gonna try to turn this into an infected monster from The Last of Us. In the game/show, humans have been infected by a fungus, which basically turns them into
mushroom zombies. That's so cool. We have to make one.
We chose Nightcrawler because it's got this really awkward movement that kind of resembles a clicker, which is one of the scariest monsters you can run into.
And he's got this great expression and weird features. He's gonna be perfect. At least I hope so. Let's find out.
There's three main components to this makeover. The first is we have to make his head look like a giant mushroom, which is gonna be crazy.
Blech.
The second is mechanically, we're gonna see if we can make his body a little better. We'll see if we can make the pose a little more realistic. Oh. Okay, it's fine. And then finally, we're gonna give him some brand new clothes so he looks more like he used to be a person.
In a clicker, the Cordyceps fungus has basically taken over their brain and gotten so big that it's bloomed out and split open their skull. And they can't see because they have no more eyes, so they use this clicking technology.
Zombies have technology?
Yes, they're high-tech cordyceps. They use this clicking-like echolocation to locate their prey. What that means for us is we're gonna cut a big old hole in his face.
And we hit our first big problem. There's a screw right here with like a bar, and the entire mask is attached right here under his nose, which is all the part we were just about to cut off. So if we cut it off, the whole thing is just gonna fall down. So nice. But I think I have an idea. I'm gonna start by cutting off the nose and the mid-brow here, and I think I'm gonna try to just squish it in. That almost worked. I'm gonna cut off just the tip of the nose and then see if I can squish the rest of it in. This is not working. Okay, plan C, D, E, whatever. Basically gonna cut off as much as I can before it falls apart. Okay, I think that worked. That might be all we have to remove, right?
I think so.
For now, anyway. We could always take more out.
To make like the individual parts of the mushroom bloom, are they called petals? Are they just mushroom pieces? Anyway, we're gonna use EVA foam. So we're gonna cut them out into kind of a rough shape. We're gonna heat bend it with a heat gun, and then we're gonna sculpt on top of that with some foam clay to make it bulbous and finger-like and, you know, mushroomy. To heat shape this stuff, it's pretty easy. So you take your heat gun, you heat it up for like 10 seconds or so on either side, and then you can use household objects to just shape it over it. So you could use like a ball or some PVC pipe, and you'll press it over there and wait till it cools, and then when you pull it off, it should keep that shape. I really like the shapes we've got going here, but they're very flat. So we're gonna build it up with some foam clay.
While Jaimie sculpts those little parts of the mushroom, I'm out in the woods foraging for, hopefully I can find some real mushrooms. We might try to make a mold from them, so I'm trying to see if I can find some really cool stuff. When we're looking at reference from the characters from Last of Us, it looks like a lot of them are based on a mushroom called the chicken of the woods, which is actually local to the Austin area, but not so much this time of year, and it's unlikely that we're gonna find any. So apparently this type of thing, this fallen tree that's been sitting there for who knows how long, is kind of the ideal place to find mushrooms. Ooh, look at this. So this looks like it was a mushroom. Not really usable, but okay, we're on the right track.
Since this is a fungus, there are a lot of different shapes going on in this sculpture. You got your ruffles there, you've got like your meaty, juicy areas, you've got these things that almost look like flower petals. So when I'm putting the clay on, I'm trying to be as organic as possible and really just let the clay tell me where it wants to go. So we're making sort of a worm shape around the edges and then blending it in, and then hopefully if we do that right, it should give the illusion that this whole thing is kind of puffy. Bleh. One down, like 16 more left. No problem.
No luck yet. There's a lot of fallen, rotting trees, but very few mushrooms. We did look into growing our own, which is possible, but you need like 6 to 12 months and you need like a rotting log. And so that's not gonna be an option. So I'm hoping we can, I don't know, find something. I thought this was a mushroom, but nope, just an old dog toy. Foiled again. I have not found anything. I really thought I'd find at least one mushroom.
These are done. It's gonna take them about a day to dry, and then once they do, I'm gonna add in a second layer of sculpting. And the show finale is in like a week. I don't know if we're gonna get this done in time. What are you making?
Mushroom.
A mushroom? That's beautiful. What is that?
But the bottom of the knife.
Oh, I see. So I'm wrapping up the texture on these pieces, and all you really need to do is get a thin layer of the foam clay and get it really wet and just kind of smear it on there. And then once it's on, you can take like a little tool, or I've even been using my fingernails sometimes, and you kind of want to go in this downward motion, but with a little bit of cross hatching. Look at the difference. Creepy gross mushroom, almost a creepy gross mushroom.
These came out so cool.
I know, I love them. They're so mushroomy.
I can't wait to paint them because the texture that you got, like, it's gonna look awesome. Which begs the question, do we paint them first before we put them on the head, or do we glue everything together and then paint them after?
I think we should paint them first, because the way that the mushrooms are, they're all gonna overlap, and trying to paint that while they're overlapping is just gonna be a pain in the booty.
Next question. How are you gonna paint them?
Okay, usually I would like brush the paint on with a chip brush, but I want beautiful gross mushrooms, and we got this airbrush.
Beautiful gross.
I think this is the perfect time to use the airbrush.
We've never used it though. Well, technically we've practiced a little bit, but it's not easy to use.
No, it's not.
You know what we could do? We know somebody who's like an expert at using that.
Yes, we do. Our friend Meredith is an Emmy-nominated makeup artist, an award-winning body painter, and she owns her own special effects studio here in Austin. We called her this morning and asked if she'd be willing to give us an airbrushing lesson, and we're headed over there now. I am super excited to learn airbrushing from her because she is an absolute pro. But for the same reason, I'm also a little bit intimidated, but it's okay. Let's do this.
You made it!
Hello! We're here. Thank you.
All right, let's put your stuff here. This is gonna be the table we're gonna work on.
Awesome.
Welcome to the studio. I hope you're not afraid of dead things.
Not at all. This is amazing.
We've got some bits and pieces from different projects we've done. We did Machete and The Sun with AMC and a bunch of crazy films and TV shows.
I love the corpse pile.
I mean, you gotta store them somehow, right?
Yep.
So what'd you bring?
Well, this is the head. This is what all the things are gonna go onto. These are our mushroom pieces.
Nice. I mean, this is pretty stellar work.
Thank you.
It looks just like the stuff. Let me see this airbrush. It's so pretty and clean. So you haven't used this at all yet?
I've airbrushed on some paper.
Okay.
And that's it.
What'd you use to airbrush?
It's just acrylic mixed with sink water.
Oh dear. We have so much to learn, my dear.
We ended up spending all day with Meredith and got a complete crash course on how to airbrush, but it is way more than we could fit in this video. If there's any interest in seeing a longer cut, maybe on our second channel, of all the things she taught us, let us know in the comments below. But for now, let's go through some highlights. She first showed us how to add a piece of fabric to the back edges of the foam so we can actually sew through it later to attach the pieces to the head.
Now it's time for the base coat, which we're gonna use this latex paint for.
So these things, you can paint straight on the foam and it seals your foam for you. And then you can actually airbrush this too if you thin it with distilled water.
Distilled water.
You don't wanna get like all the minerals and stuff in your airbrush, it'll break it down over time.
Right.
So you wanna start with the lighter colors. If you look at the clickers, they all have like a fleshy base, kind of pinky kind of tone. And then they go in with the pinks and the browns and everything and kind of layer everything up. So do you understand the push and pull mechanisms?
Is there it's just pull?
Nope.
No, there's a push too. And the push does something?
Yeah, it controls the airflow. So this is called a double action airbrush. Single action, you just pull. Double action, you push down. This controls how much air is going into your airbrush.
But it's such a subtle push there.
So you have to learn those fine motor skills of how hard to push. The further you pull back, the more paint's gonna come out.
Okay.
My thing with airbrush paints is that you wanna get kind of the consistency of skim milk as far as like wateriness. See how it feels like colored water, like skim milk has? Perfect. Right now,
way.
you're at about 40. This is a lot of pressure. We're gonna go under 20. We're gonna go to about 10. So when you're airbrushing a person, we don't wanna go over 20 because you can feel when that hits your skin. If that was in your face and you were trying to airbrush someone's face, you're like, ah, I'm being attacked. Once you get a little bit more control of your airbrush, you'll be able to control the pressure even more with just that little subtle thing. Since you're new, I always bring it way down and then you have a lot more control. I like to start on the edge and kind of work my way down. And you're gonna stay pretty far away and then move yourself in and kind of like start dusting.
Is it fun? Do you like it?
It's so fun. It's so soft. I can do gradients now without using the crappy chip brush.
So we're gonna change colors.
Now, do we need to wash it?
No, the cool thing about this, as long as you're not changing mediums, you can just kind of clear it out and then bring the next color in.
I love how subtle each layer is, and you just get to build and build and build. So it's not like you put something down and it's like, oh my God, what did I do?
This is incredible. It looks exactly like the reference.
Now you can do all these by yourself.
Can you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got this.
Got this.
If people want to check out more of your work, where can they go?
You can go to hawgfly.com. You can also go to our Instagram, which is hawgfly_Meredith.
We'll put some links to her stuff in the description below so you can check out more of her award-winning work. Thank you so much, Meredith. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Okay, we're back in the shop. Got my paints, got my distilled water, got my test piece. I'm feeling pretty good, so let's do this.
What happened?
It keeps clogging. I don't know what happened. I've tried thinning it, I've tried cleaning it, and I'm cleaning it again.
Not as easy as when Meredith did it, huh?
No, she cleaned it in like 2 minutes.
Skim milk.
You know, this looks pretty skim to me. All right, after doing almost 18 of these, I can conclusively say airbrush is super fun. It's still hard, and the thing clogs up more than it probably should, but you know, they're turning out really cool. I am glad my first airbrush thing is like this organic shape rather than like a face. Here, all the little mess ups, they're just happy little accidents, and they look great.
While Jaimie's working on the mushroom, we're gonna take a look at this thing's body and see what we can do with it. I took off the shoulders and his little neck. So we've got 2 springs, and this is basically what tensions him and controls how powerful he like jumps back up. And if we put too much weight on this, these springs aren't strong enough to lift it up really fast. We could get totally new springs. That's a little more than I want to deal with, so we're just gonna worry about keeping the weight as low as we can. He's basically facing up, but I want to change the dynamic of this so that he's kind of coming toward you a little bit. This little black plate controls the angle of this entire thing. Right now it's 90 degrees. If we can bend it forward without breaking it, then we can pretty easily change his angle of attack.
All right, we're getting ready to put these on, but he's too clean. This is a mushroom, man, he's been rotting. So we're gonna give it a really quick dirt pass. To do this, we're just gonna use some watered down brown paint, and it's really easy. Since we have such great bright colors in here, I'm not doing a wash over the whole thing because I want those colors to stay. So it's more selective washing. And then we're finishing it up with a little flick of brown paint just to break up the texture of it. Dirty mushroom, clean mushroom.
Oh. Did a few more tweaks. I really like where it's going now. So it's leaning forward. We also kind of bent this back part up and then put a little twist in the hip. So instead of, you know, your symmetrical robot, it's a little more like, you know, get a little bit of that asymmetry going. But we've created a new problem that we have to solve. This wire, which connects everything, is not long enough because we've bent him so far forward, we've created this new distance. We could like take this apart and make a whole new wire, but that's a little more than we want to do. So instead, I'm just gonna shorten this spinal wire thing so that it takes enough tension off so that the wire can reach. We should probably test that and make sure we don't rip the wire out. Okay. Okay, it's fine. There's plenty of slack in this wire. I'm gonna say that's good. Next thing to do is we're gonna go to Goodwill and find some old clothes, some zombie clothes.
Since his head is so colorful, we're looking for kind of basic clothes, kind of boring, not too bright. This guy probably worked in an office before he got infected. We also need to find the biggest sizes we can because these animatronics always have freakishly long arms and legs. Luckily, Goodwill came through again and we found everything we needed.
Presenting business casual zombie.
The clothes fit pretty well. The pants fit great, which is crazy because he's got these really weird knees or hips.
Hips, knee hips, nips. We also finished these. And I think now it's finally time to attach them.
Remember that weird screw in the middle of his nose? Well, Jaimie had a theory that we didn't actually need it,
There we go.
so we removed it and were able to cut away a bunch more material on his face, including his eyes. Since clickers don't have any eyes, we'll save these for another project.
You were right, it didn't fall off. We could have just done this in the beginning and saved a lot of time. But there it is. So the teeth will go back on right here. Mm-hmm. How in the world are we gonna attach these? I mean, I know we could put this fabric on so we could sew them on, right?
But it's a hole. What are we sewing them onto? It's a hole. We're sewing them into nothingness.
You'd have thought we had figured this out ahead of time, but no.
No.
Definitely
no,
not.
That's not what we do.
Meredith's tip to add the fabric was clutch here because we did end up sewing the back layer together. This worked great because it was one big piece, but you could still move each one around to get a good fit.
From here, that looks awesome.
Okay, now what?
Duct tape?
The solution we came up with was to create some little straps out of foam. We glued them to the inside of the face first using contact cement, and then bent them outwards and glued them to the mushrooms one piece at a time. From there, we used contact cement on each piece and built up the bloom one layer at a time. We almost never have a complete plan when we start something like this, but what's important is to just keep going, and most of the time you'll find a solution. Getting the upper teeth back on was pretty painless. We basically just used some super glue and then tucked the edges up around the folds of the mouth. We also cut a slit between the upper teeth, which all clickers seem to have. To fill the gaps around the edges, Jaimie used more of the foam clay. As long as it's a thin layer, this stuff works great for this kind of thing. She even used it to make some more little mushrooms kind of growing out of the side of his face and neck.
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't sure this clay was gonna stick to the latex, but it seems to be sticking okay. So as long as I don't mess with it, I'm sure it's gonna be just fine. I'm super happy with how the teeth actually came out. I love this little gap here and they fit great. The only thing I don't quite love is this mushroom bloom is huge.
Yeah, like relative to the size of his head, it's like 50% too big.
Yeah, well, he had a very strong mushroom inside his brain.
He had a strong reaction.
Yeah. And now it's time to paint his face.
Are you gonna get the airbrush back out?
You know it.
Show your mastery?
Oh yeah.
Make Meredith proud?
Uh-huh.
Learning a new skill can be intimidating, and sometimes it's easier to just not and to fall back to what you know. But challenging yourself a little at a time and getting out of your comfort zone is always worth it. And you never know, you might surprise yourself with what you can accomplish. We ended up adding some more grays and darks to the inside of the mushroom to give it a bit of that decayed look and help contrast the bright colors. To add a bit of grit and dirtiness to it, Jaimie did a wash of brown on the face and then a little dry brushing on the high spots. This helps contrast the soft undertones of the face and gives it great detail.
This is crazy.
You know, the airbrush is super intimidating at first, but it's actually pretty easy to pick up and just do some basic colors and lay it down. I think it's probably gonna be a long time before I actually master it. Like, oh, does anyone really master anything? But just getting that, not that bad.
We actually ended up with a couple extra mushroom petals, so we're gonna give these away. So if for some reason you want these weird things that we made, leave us a comment and we'll pick 2 random people and send them along.
Before we wrap them up and show you the final product, just wanna say thank you for watching, and until next time, stay wicked.